When it comes to creating wealth, a lot of people start in the wrong place. They chase quick wins, they jump on trends, or think more money will automatically solve their problems. But as my guest for today's episode of the Unleash Your Ambition podcast shares, the real foundation of wealth creation begins with your relationship with money. Mike Collins is a financial consultant and the founder of CSS Academy. Michael created the CSS Academy in order to educate individuals and households on financial literacy and the wealth creation process. Michael and I have a conversation about the biggest misconceptions people have about wealth creation and where it all really starts, why building wealth is a marathon and not a sprint, and the step-by-step process that makes it work. And we also talk about the hard lessons Mike learned from setbacks, including bankruptcy, and how those lessons can protect you from making the same mistakes. If you've ever felt like you're running around in circles with money or struggled to build long-term wealth, then our conversation will help you see a path forward. All right, grab your pen, your paper, and your favorite drink and get the most out of this episode. Mike, thank you so much for being on the Unleash Your Ambition podcast. Can you share who you are, what you do, and how you help people?
Oh, sure. Thank you for having me. My name's Mike Collins, aka Mike C. I'm a registered principal, Series 24. We'll probably go into a little more detail about that a little later. But what I basically do is I supervise financial advisors in making sure that the trades that they uh, present to or the solutions that they present to their customers are appropriate for that individual and that household.
Mm.
I've been in business since 2000. I passed my Series 7 February 6, 2001. I've been in sales as a financial advisor, stockbroker, investment advisor, institutional sales, uh, branch management, learning and development, and now supervision.
Amazing. So I thought it would be fascinating for you to be on the podcast since you are, you know, you're swimming in the world of finances, money, wealth building, all the things. I mean, you have, the knowledge and access to things that most people don't have knowledge and access to. And I wanted us to talk about wealth creation. I guess to kick it off, Mike, I guess the first thing is like, based on your experience, like what are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about creating wealth? Because I know this is something that wealth building is not taught in school. Wealth creation is not taught in traditional schools. So what do you see are the biggest misconceptions about creating wealth?
Where the process starts,
Mm,
where the wealth creation process starts, the assumption is money will take care of all of your financial issues. And while that is true in the short term, that doesn't always make good for the long term, especially if you don't have a good relationship with money.
mm.
So where the process starts usually is the biggest misconception. You see all of these things all over the web about, you know, make money doing this. I've seen people talking about make money with options and trading and all of that stuff and this new business and this new operation. And that's really not, in my opinion, where it starts. It's not based off of what I've seen, not my 20 plus years. It is starting out with understanding the relationship you have with your money and being honest with yourself and saying, yeah, I got a good relationship because I, you know, exist with my money this way, or I have a bad relationship because I exist with it that way. And if it's a bad relationship, it's about looking at making that relationship better to start with.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I know there's like so much information online that it can be confusing for people. And I think it's great that you're sharing that, what wealth creation really is.
Mhm.
I was, looking at your website and just reading more about like how you help people, your process and everything. And one thing that really stood out was that you say that wealth creation is a marathon and not a
Mhm.
sprint. Can you break down what that means for someone just getting started with their wealth
Sure,
creation?
sure. Most people want to go out there and get rich quick, overnight. Yeah,
Hmm.
and that's yeah. I can see how that how that entices individuals or how that is exciting because now all of a sudden you don't have any money issues, especially in the short term, right? But true wealth creation is a marathon. It is a process, and that process, excuse me, the truth of the matter is that process has never changed. It is again understanding your relationship with your money. It's redirecting your dollars and introducing those dollars or a percentage of those dollars to asset classes that have the potential to increase in value. It is ensuring that you have a clear budget and that you're constantly looking for savings so that you can take a portion of those savings, redirect them to those asset classes that have the potential to produce an increase in value. And then it's taking a look at your time and how and with who you're spending your time with. Very, very important because if you want to accelerate your wealth in that wealth creation process, you got to look at how you're spending your time, right? Because you know that old saying, you hang around 9, you're going to be the 10th. Okay. If you can take portions of that time and refocus and rededicate that time to activities that have the potential to produce revenue, now you're really on a clear path to creating wealth. And now it's just a matter of time. That's where the marathon part comes in. It's just staying dedicated, staying focused on that process.
Mm, yes. And thank you for sharing that. And I mean, you laid this all out that, most people, a lot of people, and I've been guilty of it too, is trying to do this quickly.
Mhm.
And that's a that's a way to just set yourself up for failure. Even though, yeah, there's definitely some lessons you can learn from those things, but what I'm hearing from you is like this is something that's going to take time, especially if you haven't had a great relationship with money, especially if you don't know how to manage your money, and especially if you don't have like a clear strategy or process that might seem boring,
Mhm.
but you see the forest, you see the forest through the trees instead of just focusing on what's right in front of you. So I really love your approach. And I don't think financial literacy, wealth building is talked about
Mhm.
enough.
Mhm.
And it's pretty sad because, money is something that's intertwined in everything that we do.
Every
Everything.
aspect of our lives, we have to deal with some form of cost.
Yes, all the
Mhm.
time. So I think it's great that you have dedicated your life to, to helping people, have a better relationship with money and to actually uh have, you know, great financial literacy and to
Mhm.
be able to create generational wealth. So I'm curious, Mike, like why this? Like what got you on this path? I'm always interested in learning more about how people get to where they are and what they do, especially if it's something that they really, really love. So where did your journey start with this?
Probably 87, 88. Yeah,
87,
87.
88?
Yeah. So three things happened, right? I saw the movie Trading Places,
Hmm.
right? Remember that movie?
Yes.
I saw that, and then I saw the movie Wall Street, and I started paying attention to Michael Jordan. And those three things just happened to meet and intersect at a certain period in my life. I think I was in like middle school or something like that. And I saw the movie Wall Street, and that was it. I wanted to be a stockbroker. I wanted to call myself a stockbroker, and eventually ended out in 2000 knocking on every firm's door in my town, in my city, and every firm, with the exception of one, said no. I think even a few of them said hell no. You know, get away from us. In fact, I walked into Payne Weber, dropped off my resume, and as I was walking out, one of the uh, two stockbrokers was standing there, and I heard one of them ask the assistant what I was doing there, and when she told him, he started laughing. So it was, you know, the idea that I couldn't, or someone who looked like me couldn't become a financial advisor. That just really did it for me. And like I said, when I first became a stockbroker, when I passed my exam in early 2001, I, I didn't see many people who looked like us. I really didn't. And my assumption of what the industry was was totally different than what the industry is. I tell people, you know, if you're going to sit in front of a person who claims to be an investment advisor, financial advisor, a stockbroker, first thing you must know is this is a salesperson, okay? And the only way that they earn an income is if they can convince you that they are the best for your money, regardless as to what that is, right? If it's some annuity that they're going to be trying to sell you, or you know, this series of bonds, whether they're investment grade or junk or something like that, whatever it is, this product service offering, it's their job to convince you that your money needs to be there. And then that's how they get paid. And I didn't realize that. I thought it
Mm.
was this buy, sell, and it's totally opposite. It is totally, I mean, you have segments, you have traders who tend to do that, not as much, but because it's all digital. But back then, you know, you did have some traders who did that. But for the most part, stockbrokers, we sold products. And that's really what did it for me. My, you know, being able to call myself a stockbroker was just that was my Super Bowl victory. Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
What a journey. So you got a wake up call when you made the decision, but it didn't stop you,
No.
at all. And I really admire that and appreciate that, because thank you, because since then you've helped so many
Yeah.
people on their journey to financial literacy, wealth creation, and having a better relationship with money. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing that story. Yeah, because I'm always curious about how people get into
Mhm.
what they get into and why, and I haven't seen Trading Places. I used to watch it like every year around Christmas, but I haven't done that lately.
Yeah.
I mean, that movie still holds today.
Mhm.
I love that movie. Wall Street I
Yeah.
haven't watched.
Yeah. And see, Trading Places really did it, you know, because remember Eddie Murphy was the homeless guy out on the street, and then all of a sudden got introduced to this new world, and it was just like that. You know, but the one thing that really made me want to take a step or two back and really look at the industry from a whole, right, was I was working for this firm in a supervisory capacity. Had a region of advisors that I was supervising, and this one particular advisor, he had given a seminar. He'd invited all of these people to this dinner, and had a presenter in there presenting on this new type of or this, you know, new variable annuity. And he ended out with, I don't remember how many clients that he acquired from that dinner, but it was a nice little number of them. And what I noticed was that I'm looking at his paperwork, all of his descriptions for each household was the exact same, right? And I was like, wow, man, you know, let me give this fellow a call, because this is not correct. This household, it's no way that this household looks uh, and has the exact same money issues as these other two, and vice versa, right? And you know, I always had the opinion about, once I realized what the markets, what the financial services industry was, but I never really thought that I could seek to try and make any type of of difference.
Hmm.
And it dawned on me, it was like, so many people don't even understand the very basics of what to even ask when they're being presented some of these products. So my thought was, let me introduce something based on my years of experience and journey inside of this industry. Let me introduce something that would kind of simplify the process. Right? Let me introduce that, revisit it, make sure it's extremely simple, simplify it even further, and then introduce it so that individuals and households could have something that they could always refer back to from a process standpoint. Right? Because again, wealth creation is a process. If you have that process in order and willing to stay consistent with it, the only thing that can happen is your wealth will increase.
Wow. So a great story there. Thank you so much. And you seeing like that there needs to be some type of process that people can follow.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, processes give order to chaos, and help people just really understand, what they're doing and what they're building instead of,
Well,
sure.
I give you this example about process. I don't know if anything that is constructed or built that doesn't have a process. I mean, think about building a house. You go
Yep.
in, you either have to clear the land, lay the foundation. It'd be impossible to build the roof and then build the foundation and then the wall. It'd be hard to do that. So you have to start with the foundation, then the walls, then the roof. You see, and wealth creation is the exact same way. You have to
Yes.
start with the relationship you have with your money. If it's a bad one, you got to repair it. You got to be willing to be honest with yourself about it. Maybe take some, uh, get rid of some things. I always tell people, listen, I can look at some people and just like that, show where I can create savings for them based on what I see.
What a gift do you have?
No, it's
What
not.
a-
And listen, once you understand the process, it'll make absolute sense to you. You
yeah.
know, when we can separate our wants from our needs, right? And really take a look at our needs and look at where we can cut costs, that is automatic savings. Automatic. That's money that you maintain control over. That's money that can be redirected to asset classes or segments of the marketplace that have the potential to increase in value, which will ultimately increase your wealth.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, I know with my experience, like just getting, I remember when I just started learning how to like build wealth. Not there yet. But I'm on a path like just when I started, it was like 10% of every dollar that I
Mhm.
brought in would go to investments. And then I bumped it up to 15, then 20, then
Mhm.
25. And
Yep.
that way I knew that was covered,
Mhm.
first, and once I got in the habit of doing that, it just made it so much easier. It's a no-brainer for me. I don't even think twice about it. And of course, there's always more that I can learn, but just that doing that in the beginning, like totally shifted my perspective and built my confidence. And then of course, I realized like it's not really how much money you bring in, it's what you do with the money,
It's what you do with
because,
it.
I work with
Exactly.
entrepreneurs that are making six figures, multiple six figures, seven figures, and a lot of them aren't building wealth. They're buying the things that don't secure their future or their family's future,
And sometimes, and it's funny you say that because with a large segment of new wealth creators, the assumption is wealth is a brand, wealth is an image, and that's attached to the emotional feelings that we get when we go out and purchase that new car, or that new jacket, or whatever it is we're purchasing. It's that emotional feeling, that connection that makes us feel like we've arrived, that we've achieved a degree of wealth because we're able to do these things. And I always tell people, listen, if you can do it now, if you stay on the same path, you can do it even easier next year, and even easier than that the year after.
Mm.
So take your time. That's that marathon piece. It's no rush. As long as you have and maintain control over those dollars, they're investments, especially depending on the state that you live in. Like I live in Florida. So Florida doesn't have a state income tax, state, local, and state and local income tax. We don't have that here. So municipal bonds would be a great tool to create wealth because that income is tax free. It's exempt from federal. Municipal bonds are exempt from federal income tax, subject to state and local. Florida doesn't have a state and local, so that income that is derived from those municipal bonds can be redirected to a an account like a Roth IRA that maybe invests in the S&P 500 or a variable annuity that has the potential to uh, offer a level of income with some life insurance attached to it for future generations. It's all sorts of things that you can do once you really start to hone in on the basic process. The complexities of uh, the process will change over time because you'll become more sophisticated with your investing.
Yes. Yes. Love this. So I have a question because I want, again, I'm always curious about the people that I have a conversation with. Like, and I'm sure the answer is yes, but I just want to hear your take on this. Like, have you ever had a financial setback
Oh,
or
absolutely.
failure that taught you a critical lesson about
Yeah,
wealth creation? What is it?
sure. So, I've, like I said, in the industry since 2001. Uh, and as I mentioned earlier, the industry doesn't teach you wealth creation, it teaches you how to sell a product. And again, you hang around now and you're going to be the 10th. And I'd gotten promoted and relocated to Jacksonville, and met some friends up there, and we were young men, married. Everybody was into what their day work looked like, but then we all had other little things that we were into. We were doing other little businesses and whatnot, but we spent a lot of money also, right? And the housing bubble had to be probably around about 2008, 2009. We had the housing bubble, and that just decimated me because that also took a large chunk of the financial services industry with it. So, the position that I was in, they ended up consolidating branch offices, and I was either, moving to another role or go to another firm. I opted to go to another firm, and then that firm closed. So I found myself in a very, very odd position. We were hanging out, having a lot of fun, spending a lot of money, not saving nowhere near what I should have been saving, and ended up having to file bankruptcy.
Mm,
Yep.
wow. So what did you learn from that? Like from that experience, how has that changed your approach? Because I know, of course, right now we're in a everything's weird right now. Like it just things are different than what they've ever been, with technology. A lot of people, are struggling in the economy. Like I'm pretty sure you see some patterns. I mean, you've been doing this long enough and you've been around long enough to kind of see, where there's some red flags. So like from that experience, like your outlook on the future, like how do you protect yourself from repeating that same mistake?
So what I learned first was don't spend all your money, right? You get this blessing, you get this bag of money, let it take care of again, it goes back to those foundational pieces. My relationship with my money was terrible, right? So I learned how to be honest with myself about my relationship then and put steps in place to correct and improve that relationship, right? And then it was you hang around now and you're going to be the 10th, right? All of my buddies, we were fairly successful. You know what I mean? We were driving nice cars. We were living in gated communities. We were doing well. You hang around nine successful, you'll be 10th, but you also hang around nine successful people who like to go out and enjoy a cigar, like to enjoy a scotch and stuff like that. And you end up doing that way too often. you become that. So those are my lessons that I really that I really learned throughout that process.
Mm,
Take better care of my money and be mindful about who I hang around with, right? Because if you not to hang around someone, it doesn't mean they're a bad person. It just means that what they're into, what their goals are from a financial standpoint, might not be in line with mine. And I can see clearly back then that none of us had any real financial goals. It was the emotional piece of the financial puzzle that we were in love with versus the real actual wealth creation process.
wow. Thank you for sharing that lesson. That's some good insight there. So
And
I
what I see
oh,
in terms of this economy,
mm-hmm,
the catchphrase now is inflation. Inflation stuff is high, but people don't understand the way inflation comes about is confidence in spending, right? A corporation or a company will only increase its price, uh, if they think that they can get more for that good or service. People will pay for it because they feel comfortable in their job, right? Their jobs won't leave them. They're comfortable in the level of income that they're making,
mm-hmm.
right? So they go and they spend money, and that drives price in a lot of cases. That'll drive price, thus creating an inflationary environment, right? And do I think our economy is doing bad? Not at all. We had 40 something thousand at the Dow. You know what I'm saying? So I really don't think that we're doing bad. Do I think we could stand for a correction? Sure,
Yeah.
sure, I do. But do I think that we're horrible? Not yet.
I love your attitude about that. I mean, the way that I look at it, like no matter what the economy is or what the news is telling us, because I mean, me working in marketing, I know that a lot of it is it can be manipulative,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, of course, you know, when it comes to marketing, they know what triggers people, there's
Right.
psychological triggers. So the way that I look at it is like no matter what the economy is, there's always room for opportunity. It's not
Always.
it's not a time to freak out. And you know, and I can see what, your philosophy and how you help people and how you see things is that you want people to have a good relationship with the money no matter their circumstances, because there's always an opportunity, you know. So I really love your take on this. We are almost out of time, Mike, and I really would love for you to come back, because there's just so much more that we can talk about. And of course, I love talking about the things and connecting with people that I'm genuinely interested in. So, I mean, we could talk about this multiple times, but in the meantime, like, where can people connect with you outside of the podcast? Where's some good places to connect with you?
Definitely check me out on Facebook, CSS Academy. Uh, my website, one of my websites is www.css.academy. No .com, just www.css.academy. We have a ton of information on that website. We have the Financial Freedom in 40 Minutes webinar it's a masterclass. It's actually free. The masterclass teaches everything in terms of the wealth creation process. All you're going to need is about 45 minutes, a good pen, and a piece of paper. And if you take good notes, you should be able to implement those strategies based on those 45 minutes that you'll spend with me. So you can definitely catch up with me there also.
Okay, so for you who's watching or listening, be sure to check the show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, look below in the description, and all of Mike's information will be there. That way you can attend the masterclass and reach out to him. So, Mike, final words of wisdom for the person who it's been a struggle. It's been quite the journey for them, when it comes to the relationship with money. Every time they take, 4 steps forward,
something happens and they have to take 5 steps back. What would you have to say to this person that is on the path, but they feel like they're not going anywhere? What would you like to say to them? What
Don't
would you
look
like
at
to say to them?
don't pay attention to the short term, right? A lot of times what I see when I see individuals who are existing that way, one of the biggest things is they don't have any short-term goals really established and written down, right, that build towards a larger goal, right? They'll make these broad assumptions and they'll have these grand images about what they want to look like, but they don't have these little stair steps in place that get you to that ultimate goal. So my advice to them would be to first, don't quit. Make sure that you are consistent with improving the relationship you have with your money. All of your fixed costs, I would look for savings everywhere. You can always find savings with your cell phone provider, uh, your utilities, um, maybe your car insurance, things like that. You can always cost save there. Redirect those savings to, or a portion of those savings to asset classes that have the potential to increase in value. Continue to write down those very small goals that go to a larger goal and stay consistent in the process.